common to think retirement comes down to just one question. Do I have enough money? But in reality, that's not the question that determines how retirement actually works. The real question you should be asking is how do you turn what you've saved into reliable income for retirement while managing taxes in a way that actually lasts? Because I've seen people with about $1 million feel uncertain about their plan long term, and others with significantly less saved move forward with complete confidence. So, what's the difference? It's not just about how much they've saved, it's whether their plan actually connects all the moving pieces into something that works together. And once that happens, everything changes. Recently, I consulted a couple, came into our office. They're both about 62 years old and did most everything that most folks would consider right. They saved consistently, they avoided major debt, and built a portfolio that was very solid over time. But when we started talking about retirement, something became very clear. They didn't know when to take Social Security. They didn't know what accounts they would be withdrawing from to meet their income needs. They didn't know how much they could even spend throughout their years in retirement. And overall, that was a big problem because when those decisions are not connected, even small mistakes can cost a significant amount of money and time over the duration of your retirement, especially when we think about the income taxes that could be involved. So we began by building out an integrated retirement plan. And what changed wasn't just the numbers themselves, it was the clarity that the clients received. So the question then becomes, if confidence comes from having everything connected, how do you actually build something like that? In our experience, the way you get there isn't by focusing on one decision at a time. It's by working through a set of connected decisions where each one builds on the last. Together, they create a plan that you can actually understand and rely on for your retirement. And if you're in a similar situation where you've done the work but aren't fully confident how to turn your savings to income, to mitigate taxes, and to think comprehensively, there's a link in the description where you can schedule a call and we'll help you think through a way to make everything structured and a framework that will help you in retirement. In the meantime, let's walk through how this process actually works. So step one, start with a clear view of your overall financial picture. The first step truly is clarity, not general assumptions, but a clear, organized view of what's actually in place. What do you own? What do you owe? What's coming in each month? What's going out each month? It could sound very simple, but this is where many of the issues tend to sit, because until everything is visible, it's very difficult to make confident decisions about everything else. So step two, let's define your overall income gap. Now, once that's clear, the next step is to define what is known as the income gap. This is the difference between what you plan to spend in retirement and what's already coming in through sources like Social Security or a pension that will show up each month regardless of what's going on in the markets and the economy. Now, this gap is what your portfolio needs to solve, and it becomes the foundation for every decision that follows. Most people don't have a clear understanding of the number here, and without it, though, everything else becomes a guess. Because step three, we now need to connect that gap, the income gap, to your overall liquid assets. So from there, the next step is to connect that gap to the assets, and this is where we will now do a calculation to understand your withdrawal rate. You take the income gap and divide it by your liquid assets, and that number tells you how hard your portfolio needs to work and introduces overall objectivity into the overall process. But this is also where many people stop. They get a number, and they assume they have clarity, but the confidence doesn't come from the number. It comes from how that then connects everything else to this one key number. So step four, let's coordinate other very important areas of planning. Social Security planning, tax strategies. This is where things really start to come together. Because decisions around Social Security and withdrawals don't exist independently. They affect your taxes, they affect your income, and they affect how long your portfolio needs to last. So for example, taking Social Security early may increase withdrawals from investments. That can increase your tax exposure and change other things as well if we're not thinking fully about the comprehensive picture. On the other hand, coordinating withdrawals across different account types of tax classifications, so pre-tax retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, Roth accounts, brokerage accounts, or non-qualified accounts. These can all help you manage taxes and improve overall income for your retirement. And this is where integration really starts to matter. This is where we spend a lot of time with our clients, not just identifying strategies, but helping them understand how these decisions interact so they can see the trade-offs clearly before making changes. If you're not sure whether your current withdrawal strategy or Social Security decisions are working efficiently, this is typically one of the very first areas that we always look at together. You can also schedule a call using the link in the description. We'll walk you through how those pieces are currently working in your plan and where they could be opportunities to improve and help with your long-term outcomes. Brings us to step 5. Align your investments with your overall income plan. Now, once those decisions are coordinated, your investment strategy needs to support the plan, not the other way around. And this step is about structuring your portfolio in a way that supports reliable income while still allowing for long-term growth. This brings us to step 6. Plan for the things that people tend to overlook. Finally, here are some areas that often don't get enough attention. These could be things like long-term healthcare costs with Medicare and even potential tax consequences around IRMA surcharges with Medicare, long-term care, and estate planning. This may not feel urgent today, but they can have a significant impact if they're not planned for early in the process. An integrated plan makes sure these are built in from the beginning, not something that you try to figure out later. Now, here's the biggest issue that I see when plans start to fall apart. People start to treat each of these decisions very separately, very fragmented. They talk to an investment advisor over here. They talk to a tax preparer over here. They're Googling and searching online to try to figure out their own Social Security strategy over here, but nothing is coordinated. And that's often where many opportunities are lost, because the real value comes from connecting everything together. When you step back and look at all this, the goal isn't just to have a plan. It's to understand how your decisions actually play out over time, where your income will come from, how your taxes are coordinated, and how your investments all work together before your decisions are made that may not be able to be changed later. That's what allows you to make forward progress with complete confidence, not because everything is perfect, because nothing feels unclear. So if you've been thinking about maximizing your retirement, a useful place to start is simply to understand how your current plan works as an overall system. Where are the gaps? What are the inefficiencies? And how are your decisions actually interacting? That's typically what we focus on in one of our initial conversations. If that's something you find valuable, please schedule a call now using a link in the description below, because the difference between hoping your plan works and understanding why it does work could mean the difference between long-term retirement success and a long-term retirement that is very filled with anxiety and worry and concerns. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.